We appreciate you being here. We have a couple items we want to cover today. Lavonta Williams is with us this morning, and she's going to cover in great detail a new initiative that we're calling the Fair Chance Initiative. And then we have the Vice Mayor that's joined us today also. We're going to cover this Fair Chance. Lavonta's going to do that, and then afterwards I want to give a quick update on a couple of things. I want to talk about where we're at on the visitor's badge, and then I want to talk a little bit about the city's response to the flash flooding that we had seen in the city this week. So I'm going to turn it over right now to Councilwoman Lavonta Williams and let her share what we're talking about on this new initiative.
Well, I have an initiative that we're incorporating, and I think that it is good news for the City of Wichita. I want to share some preliminary news about what the city government is doing to make reintegration for people who have felonies and to help them make the full transition back into our community as law-abiding, productive citizens. That's very important to us. To accomplish this, the city was compelled to revise its HR and procurement policies relating to contractual services. This effort is also a nationwide initiative known as Ban the Box, which was developed in the 1990s but has picked up steam during the recent recession. The initiative calls for the removal of the checkbox, which asks a job applicant if they have ever been convicted of a felony. By eliminating the felony box, ex-offenders promote their qualifications as a prospective employee before sharing their criminal background. Again, the goal is to help people with felony convictions transition back into the community in a productive way. Please remember that policies and statutes are still in place that put limits on hiring people who are convicted. So we look at things on a case-by-case basis. For example, felony hires are prohibited by state law and city policy for certain positions, such as those that are engaged in public safety, financial transactions, or contact with children and elderly persons or the general public. For some of those reasons, there is a waiting period before someone with a felony is hired. However, there are other positions that are open immediately for those that have felonies. I should note that since 2008, the City of Wichita's employment application does not include questions regarding an applicant's previous criminal history. Additionally, this year, we removed a question related to past felonies from the application to a Citizens Advisory Board. After a candidate accepts an offer of employment, our human resources staff initiates a criminal background check. When that is complete, city staff is alerted, and any criminal history which is reviewed on a case-by-case basis then is put into effect. Hiring individuals will be a contingent upon their reference checks. The position requirements and guidelines regarding the felony conviction are consistent with the business needs. That means that a person with a felony conviction can perform the work if they meet the needs of the business. The potential risk in relationship to the jobs will also be evaluated. Any subsequent conviction that occurred after the felony conviction will also be evaluated. The department director, in consultation with the city's HR director, will evaluate candidates and determine if that person is a good fit for the job. Contractors will have the responsibility of determining if felons can be hired based on outlined criteria. And people that work with the City of Wichita under contractual basis, we hope will also follow suit in our endeavors. We will again review results of the recent shift in our policies to determine the impact of these HR and procurement hiring changes. This was brought to our attention by an organization called Sunflower Community Action. So we've been looking at this procedure for over a year. Also, with my involvement in the National League of Cities and as chair of the Community and Economic Development Committee, we have also been looking at this. So this is an initiative that's going on across the country. We are probably the second city in the state of Kansas to initiate this process. Kansas City, Kansas has already incorporated it into their HR policy. So this is something we have been looking at, studying, having many conversations about, and it came to me because of a young man who could not get a job because we look at the box first. The city follows recommended best practices in this area to ensure that applicants and employees are not subject to discrimination based on prior criminal history. We are balancing that respect to potential employees with the concern for resident safety as well. I'm so proud to say that the City of Wichita is banning the box so that everybody can have a fair chance. Thank you.
So, Lavonta, when is that going into effect?
It's going into effect immediately, and I think we're going to take questions after the briefing.
Yeah, let's hold off. We have a couple of really quick briefings, and I want to get through, and then we will open it up for questions. But Councilwoman Williams has been working on this, as she mentioned, for a very long time, and so she has certainly gained tremendous knowledge and is the most knowledgeable council person to cover this issue, and we'll bring her back. She's not going to run off. We will keep her in the room. I want to talk about briefly the flash flooding that occurred this past week. We recognize that there were obviously an intense band of storms that came through our city and truly came through at probably the most inopportune times as people were trying to head home and backed up traffic. Certainly there was a number of different significant roadways where it was impassable. Want everyone to recognize that flooding is a very serious public safety concern, and we take it very seriously. One statistic that I will share, according to the National Weather Service, more people have died from floods over the past 30 years than from tornadoes, hurricanes, and lightning. So we recognize that flash flooding as a serious public concern, and we take it very seriously. Recognizing it does endanger people's lives, and so we had crews that worked all of Monday clearing storm inlets. We cleared over 100 storm inlets so that we could get the water out as quickly as possible. Don Henry's here from Public Works along with his boss, and they're here to take any questions that you might have. I want to share that we are very grateful to the public that was very cautious. I haven't heard of any loss of life in this last storm, and we're certainly fortunate and grateful that people adhered to those flash flood warnings, and we will continue to work on those issues to help our community become safer. And flooding, as all of you know, has been a concern of mine. Stormwater flooding in particular for a very long time. So anything that we can do to combat those issues, we will continue to combat. Also want to mention just briefly where we're at, because it's been a while since I've updated you on this. We have applied to put into place visitors badges into City Hall. I know all of you are anxious to get one. We have made I shouldn't say an application because there's not really a process. We have sent a letter to the state's Attorney General with what we're suggesting we put in place for screening that includes a background check, fingerprinting, a sponsor, either a city council person or the mayor sponsor someone. They also have to be willing to sign a waiver that they will not carry weapons into City Hall. And if they can pass all of that, the background check and all of what I just mentioned, then we're suggesting they can get a visitor's badge to come through the employees' gate of City Hall. Right now, that letter is in the hands of the Attorney General to rule on, to make the decision if we meet the minimum screening requirement that we need to have in place for this facility. And we are waiting to hear back. Just wanted to let you know where we were at with that issue. And so some of you might struggle to find a sponsor, but I'm here for you if you don't have any other friends. At this point in time, we will open it up for questions, and again, whether it's the new initiative that Lavonta covered or stormwater. Any questions?
I had a couple questions, Lavonta. Just on the box.
Yes.
So, are there any concerns about it as far as, having a convicted felon? And I know you talked a little bit about that, but a convicted felon who's applying for a job and gets the job, I mean, obviously, you will do the background check, but any concerns with that?
Again, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. There are some restrictions, for instance, public safety, the financial department. So there are some restrictions as to where they can and cannot work. However, this opportunity just gives them a fair chance to get in the door. And as you said, yes, there will be probably background checks. But we are hoping that by taking that box off initially, that at least gives a person an interview and a chance to have a feeling that they have an opportunity to apply for that job. So case-by-case basis. Concerns, I don't think I've heard of anything across the country where it has been initiated yet where we've had any complications, any problems. As I said, Kansas City, Kansas was the first to initiate it, and we're probably the second in the state.
Do you know how many other cities around the country use it?
Oh, I do not. Initially, when we first started, there were probably about 12 states that had initiated it, but I did not follow up to see now how many we have. Obviously, now we know at least 13.
Do you know if or how many convicted felons already work for the city of Wichita?
That's something that we are checking on, but and so we have not really dealt a lot with it, but that is a number that I'm asking for right now.
And one last question, as far as discrimination, talk a little bit about that. I mean, when people are applying for a job and the HR person sees that, oh, felon, that yes, I'm a convicted felon, do you feel like, or have you talked to people who say, yes, unfortunately I do, when I see that I throw that application out?
Well, and that's just it. They probably won't even get in the door once that box is checked. So if that box continues to be on all applications across the city, all a person has to do is say that I have been convicted, check the box, and then they probably wouldn't even get an interview. But there are people in our city who still will give people a fair chance. And those are the people that I'd like to say thank you to. Because if we don't get that fair chance, we have more people that are back out on the street. If people can't get a job because of something that they've done in the past, and we as a community can't let it go, they have more of a chance of reoffending and going back in, because being out in the community after being in jail or being incarcerated there's a second blow if you cannot find the job that you need to take care of your family, to take care of your responsibilities. So I commend those that already hire felons.
What were you hearing from Sunflower Community Action? I know you're saying that you worked with them as well as with the National League of Cities. What were you hearing from them about all of this?
We sit down and we just worked together and came up with some of the facts that we would like to see, along with some of the things that I was seeing across the country. So those were very important. I worked with one particular young person, and that person had that felony conviction. He has since lost that position in that job, but in talking to him, I'm telling him where there are positions that I know of that a felon can go and apply. If you have served your time, you deserve a second opportunity. Everybody deserves a second opportunity.
Don, if you would just talk a little bit about Monday's flash flooding, what all did you see? Do you have like numbers, how many streets were closed, that sort of thing?
In terms of the number of streets and intersections that were actually closed down or impassable, I don't have that number. The way the rain fell, it was primarily centrally located in the city and on the east side, and it was so widespread that it's difficult to get, that number that were closed down. We did have 4 crews, stormwater utility crews, working until 11 o'clock Monday night to make sure that all of the stormwater inlets and drains were cleared of debris and weren't plugged up, and that they were working as efficiently as they could. In addition to what we do, when we respond to a storm, there's a program that we do continually, and we're out there doing it today. The City of Wichita has 1,200 miles of storm sewer lines under the streets and parking lots in the city. Excuse me. And as well as more than 60,000 stormwater inlets and structures. And in 2014, we cleaned in excess of 500,000 linear feet of pipe and did 68,000 structure cleanouts. So the story behind the story is that we have to make sure that the system that we have in place is working as efficiently as we can to be prepared for storms like we had.